Manager from Waste Management World magazine. We're here at the RWM show with Peter Scholes from Urban Minds. He's the author of a report entitled The Rubbish Economy, looking at construction and industrial waste in the UK. Peter, I was wondering if you could tell me a little about how you collected the data for the report?
It's interesting. The report looks at, I guess, a couple of aspects of C&I waste. One is past trends, and we were asked to look back to, well, as far back as 1970 to dig out what waste data we could over that period. That was quite a challenge in itself because, of course, a lot of policy documents and academic documents are not Googleable. You can't find them on the internet. So that relied on friends of mine at various universities who keep archives of dusty old reports that we could read through. So the past trends were looked at through old reports and policy documents, but the data team at DEFRA are really useful in providing raw data from the last 3 C&I waste surveys, which we used for the analysis that we generated as part of the report.
Now, one of the things that came out of the report is that with the rise of commercial waste as opposed to industrial waste, there's going to be some big opportunities in disposal of that waste and in correct treatment of that waste. Where do you see the biggest opportunities lying?
I think they're twofold. I think it's clear from the numbers that there are significant opportunities in terms of increased recycling, particularly in the commercial sectors. And if you look at some of the data in the report, it highlights, well, a couple of things. Firstly, that residual waste generated by commercial companies is still significant. There are a lot of recyclates in there that can be reused. There just needs to be better collection and separation infrastructure to take advantage of those materials. But there's also a significant amount of material that still goes to landfill and will continue to go to landfill. And I think when landfill cost reaches something like £100 a tonne in 2013-14, there's a real incentive there to look at alternate technologies, whether it's energy recovery of residual waste or treatment through mechanical biological treatment or other technologies. So I think there are twofold, recycling and waste treatment opportunities.
And how do you see the role of waste to energy? Is the technology involved very different from that for municipal solid waste because of the different calorific values of some of these waste streams?
I think it can be, particularly if recycling increases and some of the high CV materials are separated from residual waste. But then on the other hand, I think there's a real argument for combining where possible municipal and C&I requirements. So where there is, just talking to a gentleman about available waste capacity for the Veolia Energy from Waste plant in Sheffield. If that plant could use C&I waste as well as MSW, there'd be no capacity problem at all. I think the more, whether it's in terms of risk sharing or in terms of combined facilities, the more that the industry and government can look at municipal waste and C&I waste together, the better it's going to be, I think.
And in terms of government policy, has the recent waste review done anything to further the cause of C&I waste?
Well, I think so, thankfully. As I said during my talk, I think particularly in terms of collections from small and medium enterprises, but also in terms of encouraging local authorities to collect from these small companies as well. I think there's much more of a recognition that you can't look at household waste in isolation from everything else. And at a time of cost reductions and of public sector cuts, I think there's a real opportunity for local authorities through working more with businesses, collecting from businesses and actually providing the sort of services that particularly small companies require.
And do you see a point at all where there may be some sort of compulsory targets introduced? Or is
I don't know. I think targets are useful, but let's face it, I don't think this particular government's really keen on targets. Other of the devolved governments have their own targets, for instance, for recycling of C&I waste. I think the Welsh have a 70% recycling target for recycling from C&I waste. I think targets are useful because they focus attention and particularly in terms of policymakers and in terms of national and local government, it really focuses attention, I guess, on achievable goals. Whether this particular government will actually set targets in on, I guess is out for consultation, and we'll see how things turn out.
Peter, thanks for your time.